Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. My stream deck isn't working this morning. Okay, that's really helpful. Thanks for that. It's updated. Okay, cool. Brilliant. Okay. Oh, now it's trying to shut down this. No, do not shut down this. Thank you. Okay, so hi to everyone in the chat. Hi to Veg Pie and to Plum Duff and to Paul Ewan, Witchy Goth. Vendetta is in there as well. Francis, Ian, Martin. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? If you would like to join our beautiful friends in the chat there, all you need to do is hit the big juicy subscribe button and wait for like a minute, and then you'll be able to join the chat. But don't be a troll. All right, don't be a troll. So as I said, my name is Graham Hughes. Sorry, that should have come up when I said it, but obviously things are updating, and things need to close down while things are updating. Do you love it when you update something and like your whole computer needs to reset, and you're like, piss off? It's just a printer. I do not care about it that much. No, you need to reset the system. The whole system needs to be reset for this printer that you're not even using at the moment. Anyway, big shout out to Graham Haller in the chat there. Walter's in there as well, and Vendetta. We're going to do something a little bit different this morning, because usually I pick one topic to talk about for the morning. This morning I'm going to talk about a range of different topics, mainly because of what isn't one big news story at the moment. So I thought it'd be more fun or interesting or whatever, entertaining for us to go through each one in turn and have a chat about it. So it's not just me monologuing to the camera for the first 20 or 30 minutes of the show. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Macron's state visit and the small boats. The small boats! Oh my God, the small boats! They're coming over in small boats. Oh, it's the end of everything. So Macron visits the UK, and Starmer is pushing this kind of daffy one in, one out asylum plan, which can't work if it's taken to its natural conclusion. It means that, if people stop coming over in the boats, then no one will get in. It's a bit of a weird system, whatever. So let's talk about the optics here. This is the first EU state visit to the UK since Brexit. Full Windsor pomp have been given. Macron has met Charles III and Keir Starmer. Macron has warned Parliament about complex threats. He's called for less reliance on the US and China and more EU-UK cooperation, which is music to my ears. Like, seriously, that's good stuff. That's all I want. Like, I'm fed up of being reliant on America for everything. It's galling. It really is. We use American platforms all the time for our stuff. All the stories we're told are generally filtered through an American lens. It's too much. I'm sick of it. I'm bored of it. Like, just come on. We've got 50 countries in Europe, all of which are, varying degrees of awesomeness. And we still keep pissing around, worrying about what they're doing in Wyoming. I don't care. I just don't care. I just I'm kind of getting a bit sick of all the American politics every day on our TV screens and on our streams. I'm sick of talking about it. I kind of just wish that Trump would just shut up and go away, as Gavin Williamson once implored the Russians to do, rather than actually take any action, because Gavin Williamson. But from Labour's point of view, they want a returns deal with the EU, but only if Britain accepts an EU-wide migrant quota, which is, I want that. I think that would be a fantastic idea. It's been mooted before. It's been blocked by the likes of Orban and xenophobes and dickheads and right-wing populists, because they don't want to solve the problem of refugees. The right love refugees. If it wasn't for refugees, the right will get nowhere. The Brexit referendum would have got nowhere. That famous breaking point poster where they cropped out the white faces. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. They know that the more people come here via irregular methods, fleeing war, the more people will start voting for right-wing, authoritarian, populist gobshites like Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage, he was in that plane crash, wasn't he? We don't talk about that much, do we, these days? The plane crash he was in, he barely survived, and the pilot, he survived as well, but 2 years later, he ended up taking his own life. Why did that happen, Nigel? What happened there? Can you let us know what happened to the pilot who took his own life after 2 years of what was happening there? There was court cases and there was recriminations and there was accusations on both sides. Maybe we should delve into that. Maybe we should delve into that before people start voting for this creep. Anyway, so the fatal flaw, like I say, of the 1 in, 1 out plan is that if the boats stop, nobody comes in. So I think there's got to have a cap on it. Do you know what I mean? And then not a cap, an exit clause or something, so that at some point we will take in refugees legally. It's always legal. Hang on, we'll take refugees in that have already been vetted as genuine refugees in France, and we will continue to take them in beyond the issue of boat people coming in. So once they stop people coming over in small boats, we still need to take in refugees here because it's only fair, because we're a very rich country and we don't take as many refugees as many other countries in Europe, never mind developing nations around the world. Oh, we've got the first super chat of the morning. Thank you so much to Paula. Really, really appreciate that. Paula says, being reliant on America is not just annoying. What business would rely on only one supplier? Yeah, absolutely, Paula. You're not wrong there. Just give me a moment while I get the super chat animation up because my stupid stream deck is not working. Thank you very much, Paula, for the super chat. Super chats are open if you want to drop some money in, put 50p in the idiot. It's up to you. I like Trump's it's a 100-year disaster. Definitely not global warming then. Yeah, we'll come to that. Over 100 people are confirmed dead. There's over 150 people still missing. And this is a small place in America, this is like small towns. It hasn't hit a city or something like that, but this is a direct result, as we know, of the cuts to the National Weather Service undertaken by an immigrant to America. An immigrant, a criminal, a guy who's taken people's jobs. He has literally foreigner coming to America, taking people's jobs. A foreigner from Africa coming to America and taking people's jobs, and they cheered him on. And there's still Elon stands out there going, oh, he's the greatest man who ever lived. Oh, he's going to take us all to Mars. Yeah, please go with him to Mars. Which anyone with a lick of sense knows is a one-way journey. May as well get into a bloody little submersible made of carbon fiber and try and go and see the Titanic. Ian says, he also said this was Biden's fault. I'm blaming Biden. Yeah. Chrissy, also allow those who are waiting for asylum claim to be processed for work, give them a temporary NI number. That way they are contributing to the economy via taxation. Yeah, Chrissy, couldn't agree more. We talked about that yesterday, didn't we? Anyway, so yeah, the issue, the big issue might be with this deal with France is it might require EU agreement. I don't quite have a definitive answer on this of whether it will or not, but assuming that it will, I mean, that's going to be quite difficult, We already had a deal. We already had the Dublin agreement, but we got rid of it because we left the EU. And then we were like, oh, look, these people coming over in boats. They didn't used to do that. There's some connection between Brexit and people coming over in boats. And then we got the Tory hypocrisy, haven't we, with Suella Braverman and James Cleverly championing the offshore Rwanda policy, now crying foul over Labour's attempts at solving this matter diplomatically. And, we've criminalised safe routes, shredded the asylum system, and now we pretend to be tough while Britain flails around, its arms flailing wildly, diplomatically, And, the only workable stuff, as we said yesterday, processing centres in Calais. France supports this, by the way. Legal pathways and work permits for asylum seekers so they can pay taxes while they are waiting. And the end of the Fortress Britain mindset. It is not working. Okay? This idea, we're going to put people off coming here. They're fleeing war, dickheads. They're fleeing death. People will go anywhere fleeing death. And can they have a life in France? No, because for whatever reason, their life in France is going to be pretty shit. Probably they don't speak French, whereas they speak English, or they got family here that they can go and stay with. Excellent. And yeah, we need to have also on top of this, we need to have a system like we did when Ukrainians were coming over here en masse, where people can put refugees up in their homes. This is a system that works really well with Ukrainians, and it is possible to do this, but it's kind of like unofficial. It's not done via a government scheme or anything like that with support for people who choose to do this. And I think that it would be a rip-roaring success because people who are progressive, who have the facilities to take in refugees, a lot of people would if they could, but there's not a process for allowing that. If you are a refugee awaiting your claim on refugee status in this country, you can't work, and you're the mercy of the government. The government tell you where you go and where you've got to stay, and you've got to stay in this hotel, and you've got to stay here, you've got to stay in this asylum center. It's not a great setup. It's really it's not making a bad situation better. It's making it worse. Anyway, the other thing in the news today. So we'll talk about that. Sorry, finish talking about this. I find it harder and harder to listen to Trump and his minions get more appalling by the day. The cruelty, racism, insanity, incompetence. I could go on. Yeah, Leonor, I can't stand his face. I can't stand his voice. I just hate him. Titanic sub now gets called the idiot squisher. What should we call Musk's failed rockets? Well, I mean, that it's not like Musk paid for them himself, is it? Out of his own money. No, my friends. No. It's almost as though it's paid for by taxpayers' money, and he doesn't give a shit. Doesn't give a shit. The small boat force is just a tedious distraction, says Nick. Starmer's probably relieved that it helps dodge scrutiny of his ridiculous red lines, the things causing the real damage. Yeah, we could do something about those stupid red lines, but I mean, I'm a lot more hopeful than I was about our relationship with the EU. A year, just over a year ago when the Tories were still in charge. I'm a lot more positive about it now. Every Labour MP that I've spoken to has been pro-European and acknowledges that we need to get closer and closer back to Europe, and hopefully that's what we're going to see over the next few years. And certainly I think it's going to play a part in the next election, where I think that if Labour have a lick of common sense, they'll say, stronger relations with the EU, and pull back on those red lines, Nick, which, just... I understand why politicians put in red lines when it's to do with the economy. So, so they don't spook the market, because obviously the people in the market are like, woo, like chickens, you walk towards them, we go, woo, quick, buy, sell, buy, sell. But easily spooked. But at the same time, these red lines are put there to not really help our economy. In fact, do the opposite. Just keep the gammons happy. Yeah. Jimmy says, I was going to say some sort of record, but the truth is I just love Jimmy Anderson. I have a memory of calling Musk a Gollum-looking motherfucker, but I don't know if it's real. He does look a bit Gollum-y. Grima worm tongue, especially with his black eye and his... that picture of him when he was looking up at Trump like this, it was very Grima worm tongue. Nick says, in 2016, most voters, including 30% of Leavers, wanted to stay in the single market. That figure is much larger now. Makes the self-imposed red lines all the more absurd. Yeah, the fact that we left the single market, but we had to leave the single market in order to fully leave the EU. So what are you going to do? And we can complain that it didn't say in the 2016 referendum what the exit strategy would look like. But in the 2019 election, the Tories got elected on a mandate to get Brexit done by whatever means necessary. So unfortunately, that argument, I think, it kind of falls down a little bit by the shitness of the situation in 2019 when Labour threw their what should have been a thumping election win away. And we got another 5 years of the dysfunctional Tory party, and Hundreds of thousands of people died unnecessarily. So yeah, all because of the ego of one man. Well, two men, actually. Anyway, let's just talk about the next thing I want to talk about today, which is the NHS junior doctors strike vote. So the majority of junior doctors or resident doctors in England are backing a new wave of strikes. There's a lot of pushback against this. Obviously, the right wing are not happy. People say that doctors get paid enough, but they do work mad hours. They're saying that there's been years of real-term pay cuts, staff burnout, patient backlogs, and bad faith negotiations on behalf of the Tory party for many years. But, Labour's now in government, and they need to offer. They can't just get away with attacking the Tories and saying, yeah, that's shit. Just pointing at them and going, that's shit. They've got to actually have some real NHS reform here. And the BMA is gearing up to intensify pressure on the government. And, support for doctors in general is quite strong overall. But it will... I don't know if the strike actually goes ahead, how much public goodwill they'll carry with them. This is kind of a bit of a weak point for Labour. There's no concrete pay deal on offer, just vague promises of efficiency savings and waiting list targets, which they have been very good at. Like, I've got to give credit where credit's due. Labour have sorted a lot of the major front end problems of the NHS out in like quite very, quite quick amount of time. That Labour need to fix the pay. They need to make sure that doctors feel like they're being paid the correct amount that they deserve for the amount of work they've done, especially looking at it historically of like, what would I have been earning in real terms as a doctor 25 years ago, and what would I earn now? And obviously in real terms, that number has gone down, but then that's mostly because our economy has not really excelled. It's not really grown much since 2007. 18 years, my friends. 18 years. Our economy has hardly grown. And that's because of the Tories. Austerity, Brexit, COVID, truss. Anyway, are Labour in government? It's hard to tell, says Roseanne. Yeah, good point. Nick says, hopefully they're in diminishing numbers. I've heard his supporters pulling down his named flags from their houses due to the rising costs and other things he's doing. May it continue. We talk about Trump. I think a lot of that's anecdotal. I'm looking at the actual stats, the polls that are coming in from different polling agencies. And don't give me the whole, you can say anything with a poll. There's some different agencies, and they're keeping Trump's approval rating at about 38%. Like the number of people who approve of him around 38%, which translates to like a -12 overall net approval rating. But still, that's 1% higher than it was at this point in his first term of office, and he still got re-elected. Like, I don't think there is going to be a moment of people collectively in America, the scales are going to fall for their eyes. They love him. They love him. I can't stress this enough. They absolutely adore him. And if the people who love him, fucking love him, everyone else hates him, but the people who love him, they love him more than their firstborn. And until we get our head around that, we're not going to be able to deal with the situation, I don't think, because there is no way that his base is going to turn on him, no matter what he does, no matter how much he fucks things up for people. And I know that I will have arguments with Ollie and Mikey and others all day long on this, but I am adamant. I've met these people. I've met the Brexiters here who still hold on to their love of Brexit. 30% of the population, nearly 1 in 3 in this population in this country, still think Brexit was the most amazing, awesome, wonderful thing that ever happened to them in their entire miserable, godforsaken existence. And for the Trump voters, Trump is the best thing that's ever happened to them in their entire life. You've got to understand that. And unfortunately, yes, the floating voters, the libertarians, the sort of independent voters, they'll float between, backing Trump or not backing Trump, but his core, his hardcore base, he killed them. Don't forget, during COVID, he was killing them at like a huge rate of knots. There were people who were massive Trump fanatics who were dying in hospital beds. And they're still like, yeah, but I still love him. I still love him. You can't reason someone out of a mindset that they didn't use reason to get themselves into in the first place. That's a garbled misquote by by Christopher Hitchens, but it's true. It's absolutely true. It's like telling someone that their religion is wrong, that their football team is shit, that their partner is a nutter, that their kids are minging. It just not going to work. Humans just shut down. But yeah, anyway, back to get to the doctors' strike. Yeah, the AI in the NHS is kind of disturbing in some degree, but at another point, it is going to be an incredibly useful tool for spotting patterns, spotting cancers, things like this. I think AI is not going to be able to replace care. I do not think anytime soon. It's not going to be able to replace doctors. Yeah, tinkering around the edges of the NHS, I don't see it happening. But unfortunately, I don't see it working. I can see it happening. Unfortunately, for the wholesale reboot of the NHS that this country desperately needs, we haven't got the money for it. And I hate saying that because it's a ridiculous thing to say about the 6th richest country in the world. But at the moment, the way things stand, we haven't got the money for it. Why? I mean, as a country, we do. But the problem is that there are a lot of very, very powerful millionaires and billionaires and multimillionaires who do not want to pay a penny more tax than they absolutely, absolutely have to. They're all leaving the country, apparently. How are you? Okay. How about this, right? The British embassies around the world and their British high commissions and their services are only available to British taxpayers. How about that? See how long you last in Dubai, the place where if you go bankrupt, you don't just simply go bankrupt and you can't run a business for 5 years. No. You go to jail and then you get out and you still owe the money. They have no bankruptcy law. So go on, off to Dubai. Bye. See ya. Oh, you've got yourself into a little bit of bother in Dubai. Very rich, very, very strict religious country. UAE is the country. Oh, you want the British embassy to come and help bail you out? Sorry, taxpayers only, I'm afraid. Those services are just for taxpayers. Oh, you will need to get a new passport. Oh, I'm sorry, those services are just for taxpayers, mate. You're going to have to come back to the UK and get a new passport. Sorry, can't be more convenient for you. But why the living fuck should you and I pay tax to pay for diplomatic services for millionaires who have abandoned this country because they don't want to pay tax here? I'm not saying we should take their passport off them because that would be illegal. Just saying, you want diplomatic services, you want legal services from the embassy of the country that you have moved to. No. Sorry, no. Try the legal aid where you are, mate. Go to the Citizens Advice Bureau in downtown Dubai. See how you get on. I think that's out of order, but I think it's perfectly fair. If you don't pay into the system, why should you benefit from it? And that includes our embassies. Croissants, says Trip. Ian says, surgeons don't have a clue the AI spotted it. That's what I'm saying. Like the AI, we've talked about this on this channel a lot. And I'm, adamant that I'm right. Might not be. Been wrong before. But I think that AI is very much like the dawn of the internet. It is this new tool that's going to revolutionize a lot of things. It's going to make some things better. It's going to make some things worse. What we need right now is regulation. Just like in the early days of the internet, we needed regulations. The early days of social media, we needed regulations. Now in the early days of AI, we need regulations. But of course, politicians are always 30 years behind because they're all stupid old men. Anyway, talking of AI and all things, I don't know, internety, I'm going to have to Google Jimmy Anderson now. Ooh. Why have I never heard this idea before, says Sneaky Fish. I don't know, which idea? The outsourcing of outpatients is going to add costs. Patient goes to see GP and gets referred to outpatients. They realise they need admission. Who pays for transport and care throughout adding steps? Well, I mean, Michael, that's one of the things that I really like the idea of having community hubs where you don't have to go to the doctor and then get referred to outpatients and then go to, it can just be one place where you go and then you have to go to the pharmacy. I want somewhere where you go and you've broken your arm and they can scan you, they can do the x-ray, they can go, yep, you've broken your arm, they can, give you a sling and send you off to get some painkillers from the on-site pharmacy. One place, one-stop shop, lots of them around the country, rather than fully fledged hospitals which need to have operating theatres and A&E and all that kind of stuff. That can be at the hospitals, but for the everyday aches and pains and accidents and ailments, I think there should be a one-stop shop where you go and you can get your diagnosis, get your scans, and then your diagnosis, I guess, and you can get your medicine all in one place. I think Graham is hungry because his eyes went straight to croissant. We can see what he wants by saying most foods, apple pie. Oh, God, I love apple pie. Hot apple pie and ice cream. Oof, that stuff is good apple pie. Not crappy apple pie, but good apple pie. Really, really hot. Like when it's like molten lava. It's got to mix a little bit of the ice cream in to cool it down. Yeah. I've actually had my breakfast this morning before starting the show, which is unusual. Normally I just start, and then about at 10 o'clock I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. It's one of the reasons why I wrap my shows up. I'm like, I'm too hungry to go on. That's a walk-in centre. We have those. Yes, we do. In Liverpool, we got walk-in centre. We don't really have a walk-in centre here in Durham. If we do, I've never been to it. I've had to go to my GP, and then I had to go to the hospital for the scan. Then I've had to go back to my GP to the results of the scan, and then I've had to go to the pharmacy to get the thing that I needed to fix myself. So like 3 different destinations. 2 of them, one of them I've had to go to twice. But yeah, we've got a walk-in centre near where my parents live in Liverpool, in Old Swan. It's great. It's great. I know it's sometimes a bit crowded, especially on a Friday afternoon. Good luck. You're going to be there for a few hours, but when we have actually used it, it's been pretty good. We need a complete relaunch of the tax system so it's fairer and progressive with 0 loopholes that the wealthy can use to evade paying tax and heavy punishment for those who do evade tax. Yep. I agree. Revoking access to legal support for those tax dodging rich folk, your whole skit about bankruptcy laws, all of it. Yeah. This is something that we can do. You just say you've got to pay tax. Oh, you don't pay tax? Okay. We've looked up your tax bill and you didn't pay any tax last year in the UK, so why are you using our services? In the same way that the idea that people who live in like the Victoria area of London, who have these massive mansions that are worth £20 million. Imagine having a house that's worth £20 million, more than people will ever earn in their entire lifetimes. And you pay the lowest rate of council tax in the country. How does that work? Do you not use the services? Because it's so close to City of London, I guess, or whatever. They don't need the money coming in from council taxes. They get so much, I guess, from the rates that businesses pay. I don't know, or maybe the Queen, whatever, or the King, as it is now. Or the Queen and old money. It's just mind blowing the way that it's so expensive to be poor in this country and so cheap to be rich. You're rich, you get free stuff all the time. But like, do these Chelsea tractors that these motherfuckers drive, do they tear up less of the road than other people driving around in a Nissan Micra? I mean, or having to get the bus because they can't afford a car, and yet somehow the person who's ripping up the roads and causing all the traffic jams and during the school run and stuff, they're the ones. Anyway, Francis, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Apple crumble and custard is better than apple pie. Thank you very much for the super chat, Francis, but that's where you're wrong. I do like apple crumble, but with custard, custard, rice pudding, semolina, right? War food. To me, that's war food. That's like the food you have because there's a war on, and you have to have the war food. Like Hershey's chocolate. That's like war chocolate. Or Australian mayonnaise. It's like war mayonnaise. If anyone's been to Australia, if anyone's spent some time in Australia and they've got themselves an egg mayo sandwich and just opened it a little bit and gone, what the fuck have you done to my sandwich? You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. War mayonnaise. It's just, spotted dick. War pudding. There's a war on. There's rationing. This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah, I think school dinners as a kid really, really put me off. Rice pudding, semolina, and custard. Also, the movie Brain Dead, which I'm not gonna. Oh my god, I mean, bring that thought to mind. Crumble is always better. Yeah, okay, all right. Given a choice between apple pie and apple crumble, I think I'll go for apple crumble. Especially if it's really crunchy, on top. I don't know why all these HGVs are going past my house in this little tiny bloody village. Where you go. Not just a relaunch of tax, a rebrand. Yes, Reverend Kathy. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Make it something people are proud to contribute to. A matter of patriotic pride to pay your tax. And no gongs, high officers, unless you pay. Couldn't agree more. And that is absolutely what it should be. And again, it's all down to comms. It's all to do with how you sell it. The most patriotic people pay the most tax. We should have a leaderboard. Instead of having the 500 rich list, right? We should have the 100 biggest taxpayers in the UK and absolutely laud them and have them competing against each other to be the one that pays the most tax. Because the person in Britain who paid the most tax gets a gong. They get every year they get they get a kiss off the king or something, a snog off the king. I don't know, whatever they want, whatever rich people go for. I don't know. But yeah, in Burton, says Chrissy, we don't have a walk-in centre, and if you can't get a GP appointment, the only option available is A&E, which is constantly busy. We have a similar system here, a similar thing in Durham, I think. We don't have those walk-in centres. So having more local centres, local health centres. But also, I don't want it to just be reactive. I don't want it to be a national sickness service, a national ailment service where we go when we're not feeling well or we've had an accident, whatever, right? I want a health service. So if you go to one of these regional health services, it's not just because you are feeling ill, but because you need to get more healthy. And they can do programs and have advice on how to get more healthy. I think something that would be really cool is something like the Thrive program here in Durham, where you get a little card and you get discounts when you go to the gym or go swimming or do anything sort of active. And that's Durham City Council that do that. There are things that we can do that make it more of a health service. And I know it's really easy for me to sit here and go, well, this is what they should do. I think they should do this and that and the other. And I know it's more complicated than that. But essentially, having a health service rather than a walk-in service, because you'd only use a walk-in service if you're ill, right? So having a health service, a health centre nearby where you can go along and just, have an appointment to go and see. And also, this is a big one for me and for a lot of friends of mine, mental health services. And have that, because I don't think I could go into my walk-in centre in Old Swan in Liverpool and go, my ADHD is really playing up today. I'm not getting anything done. And they'll be like, what the fuck do you want us to do about it? But if there was something akin to a community centre that was like a health community centre where you could go and say, look, I'd like to get onto a program for cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever it is, group therapy, addiction, people who are addicted, being able to use that health service. So every Tuesday at 7:00, there's a getting off drugs or Alcoholic Anonymous or something like that. That is part of the health thing, and off the back of that, if you need to get a script for methadone, or you need to get a script for something that might help you wean yourself off smoking, so if you want to get a script for nicotine patches, for instance, that's all sort of tied in with it having a health centre. I think that a holistic approach makes a lot more sense to me. Your mileage may vary. Christy, the problem with walk-ins is that hubs is tend to be placed in areas which are hard to get to unless you drive. They need to be centrally located and accessible to all. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Yeah, I put them on top of a bloody big hill where there's no bus stop anywhere near. The same people who complain about taxes, the first to complain about potholes, bin collections, etc. They don't ever link them together. Yeah. But I think that naming and shaming rich people who don't pay tax would be an awesome thing as well. So you have your top taxpayers, the people who pay the most tax, right? And then you also have the league of, ne'er-do-wells, the freeloaders, like the Freeloaders League. And what that is it'll show the disparity between the amount someone earns or their wealth that they have and the amount that they paid in tax in any given year. A list of sin, and it's like 100 names. And it's like, oh, okay, so they're a gobshite. And then like really lay it on, have like an advert with like a little girl with a tube up her nose, and she's going, oh, I would have liked to have got the treatments that I needed to stay alive, but because of these rich people who don't want to pay tax specifically and fucking name them, I'm not going to be here next year. Tear down the eye. I mean, I don't think I'll get away with that, but Jesus. Walk inside Liverpool are accessible. We have 2 within 10 minutes. Walk-ins in Liverpool. Yeah, they are accessible in Liverpool. Liverpool do quite well actually on things like that, and also the one-stop shops that they had. I don't know if they have them anymore, but they were great. It was like a one-stop shop for council services. You go in, and whatever you needed from the council, you could sort things out there without having to go all the way into town or whatever. But then they'd be like, oh no, let's replace it with websites which are absolutely unnavigable for elderly people or disabled people. Why not just purchase the building? There are plenty of empty high street shops. They can convert relatively easily and quickly. The bigger issue is staffing them. Yeah, staff is a huge issue. And Nick says, slight off topic, but does anyone think Reform will win more councils, or is it all downhill for them now? So Nick, good question. I think that they've so there's a council seat here in Durham that was up for grabs because the refucker who was supposed to be standing in the seat would turn out to be a paper candidate or whatever, didn't want to do the job. So we had to have another election at the cost of £20,000. And in that election, the refuckers didn't win. I think they came third, actually. Might be wrong, but they didn't win. I think a Lib Dem got in. I think that I'm hoping that the refuck council wins are a bit of a fluke. And certainly the win in the MP win in Runcorn and Helsby was a fluke. Like, it was also to do with the fact that Labour didn't really campaign there. They thought, oh, we've got a majority of 12,000. We don't have to worry about that. They should have had the Prime Minister there. They should have Angela Rayner there, Deputy Prime Minister. They should have really, really pushed, but they didn't. And refuck won by 6 votes. 6. So, I'm hoping that's sort of the high watermark. But it's good in a way, not for us living here in fucking Durham, but like it's good in a way that other places in the country will see what an absolute arse the councils in Kent and Staffordshire here in Durham are making of local services because they don't know what they're doing and they're putting teenagers in charge. I'm hoping that it will turn out to be a good thing in the long run, because people will look at it and go, they obviously can't run a local council. Could you imagine letting them run an actual fucking country, this country. Two 18-year-olds have been given cabinet roles on local councils, including children's services and strategic planning. And I don't want to get all ageist here, but they're 18. Fuck off. Like, seriously, fuck off. No professional experience. One just left sixth form. Like, what did you know when... There's a joke, isn't that? Quick, ask a teenager while they know everything. And Reformer said they're smart and capable. They're trying to pitch it as youth empowerment. But, this is to distract from the party's lack of depth and that lack of experience. It's courting the anti-politics vote. And, even Reform voters are a bit like, what, they're 18? And local papers, especially up here in the northeast, are like torn between laughing and screaming about the situation. The really worrying thing is that here in Durham, if the leader of the council steps down for whatever reason, because he's a bit of a crook, but if he steps down for whatever reason, allegedly a crook, who's in charge of our council? Darren Grimes. Oh yeah, old crafty wah. Who's, just it doesn't have the experience. He's just that. Normally, the way things go is you're a councillor for many years, and then you get into the cabinet, and then eventually you might become a council leader. They're dropping people with no experience of local politics, no experience of politics, no experience of anything in life except a string of failed businesses, and they're making them heads of councils, which is just crazy, absolutely crazy. And, the populists don't want competent governance. And this is why we need to highlight the incompetence of these motherfuckers. They want chaos. They want headlines. They want hero worship. They want personality politics. They do not want competence. And that's the one thing that Labour could be doing very well. Not that they are, but I mean, it's one of the things they could be doing very well. You fucking refuckers turn into like the I don't know, YouTube prank channel of politics. Unfortunately, we're the ones being pranked, my friends. We are the ones being pranked. So as I was struggling with my anxiety and fighting going out and locking myself away, I'm going away for a weekend in August instead of the transphobes and the DWP. Sarah, if you, I assume you're not going to be alone when you go away in August. Just make sure that you're with friends and I know it's very, very difficult when you're suffering from anxiety because you will tend to build things up in your head. Something that I found, we've got a close family member who has diagnosed with anxiety, is distraction. Just distract. That isn't my best advice. And sometimes I don't think that these shows are particularly good distractions because we are talking about what's in the news and what dickheads are doing. And I know that it can be not great for people's mental health to even talk about this in a kind of friendly, informal environment. And if you are struggling right now, any of you, please, I implore you, you don't, I love your loyalty. It means a lot to me, but at the same time, your mental health has to come first. So if you have to give these shows a break for a little bit, that's fine. Please pop in 6:00 every Wednesday for the rabbit hole with me and Rachel. And this, well, what are we doing this week? I think we're doing social justice films. So we'll be talking about things like Mississippi Burning, and I'm Daniel Blake. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at what has been suggested. Born on the 4th of July. Evan Brockovich, To Kill a Mockingbird, 12 Years a Slave, Four Lions. So we'll be talking about social justice films. And so we'll be talking about anything but politics, but then social justice films are a bit of politics, aren't they? Maybe we'll talk about something else. Maybe we'll talk about the best movie names ever. And I'm seriously not going to be swayed on the fact that the best movie name ever in the history of cinema is There Will Be Blood. It's just brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant as a name, as a title. I mean, think what you like of the movie itself. I think it's great, but that name, There Will Be Blood. You've got everything. You've got a promise of adventure, excitement, violence, something awful happening. It is. And it was based on a book called Oil. It was one of those where they took the name of the book and they made it so much better. That happens a lot with Philip K. Dick adaptations. But the second best name for a film of all time, and I don't even think this is up for discussion, is Snakes on a Plane. Again, the mileage of that film may vary, the actual movie itself, but oh my God, what a great name for a film. Snakes on a Plane. Fantastic. And then you got the worst named movies of all time, which I think number one's got to be John Carter. Just absolute shite. Just what? What are you telling me here? What's going on? It's John Carter? You know, John Carter. And I'll throw in any movie that's just like one name or something. Veronica or Megan or it's usually a woman's name, isn't it? Shite, absolute shite. I mean, if you got both names like Erin Brockovich, Michael Collins, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more. When it's like one name and it's just like Bob, and you're like, why would I see this movie? It's just someone's name. I think about the names of movies quite a lot to, what works and what doesn't. It does feature. Snakes on a Plane. Samuel L. Jackson is just hilarious in that film. You gotta get this motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. I love There Will Be Blood. It is just a great name for a film. For anything. Just There Will Be. That is marketing perfection. I still need to watch Four Lines. It's a very good movie. Very good movie. Leonora. Need to break through his bluster and outrageous nonsense when asked a direct question. Are you talking about me? Leonora, hold Farage to... Oh, thank God, you're talking about Farage. I thought you were talking about me now. Oh, my God, he ignores all the messages. You try and ask him a question. Glasto version, There Will Be Mud. Oh, I like that, Nick. That's very good. Thank you very much to Paulette for the super chat. It's very kind of you. Let me just get the super chat animation up. There you go. Super chat. Discussion point for tonight. Why did they leave the fire scene out of To Kill a Mockingbird? Ooh. I don't know. Is that in the book, but it's not in the film? Is that the? I'm gonna have to look this up. It's been a while since I saw To Kill a Mockingbird. When did it come out? 1950 something. After this, Scout now understands what Atticus meant. It is a sin to kill a mockingbird. Yeah, that's in the chapters, but not in the left out. Sorry. You just watch me Googling. You can just watch me Googling for a bit. The fire scene at Miss Maudie's house, a significant event in the book, is left out of the 1962 film adaptation. In this book, the scene involves a fire that destroys Miss Maudie's house and during which a mysterious blanket is placed around Scout. The film's omission of this scene impacts character development and the unfolding of the events, particularly the children's interactions with Boo Radley, who was played by Robert Duvall. Also, where they got the name, the Boo Radleys, the Liverpool, the Merseyside band. The Boo Radleys are from across the water, like. They're not quite Scousers. There we go. If not social justice films, we can do badly named films or actors, badly named films. I think we could do that. I think we just list movies that just had a terrible, terrible title. Actors that were going to play the lead but were switched out last minute. Would the film have been better or worse? Oh, that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down, Rach. Yeah, who was switched out? Well, Stuart Townsend was switched out from Lord of the Rings for Viggo Mortensen. The red-haired guy from True Romance or something, Eric Stoltz, he was switched out from Back to the Future for Michael J. Fox, because apparently he just pissed everyone off on set, and within like a week they were like, "Screw this guy." Crispin Glover was bad enough. We can't have more than one Crispin Glover. Yeah, and then there's people who've been switched out in a sequel. I think one of the most famous ones is when the original actress who played Marty's girlfriend in Back to the Future was switched out for Elizabeth Shue in parts 2 and 3, and she's awful. She's fantastic in Leaving Las Vegas. She's one, I think she was nominated for an Oscar for her performance in Leaving Las Vegas. But yeah, Back to the Future. But yeah, Rachel and I will come up with something together for this evening's anything but politics rabbit hole, I'm sure, at some point. Okay, so the last episode of The Studio is hilarious. Riff on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I found The Studio. I watched the first 2 episodes and I thought the second one was very clever, the way they did it all as a one shot, and it was like this guy. I just found him too irritating. I just got too infuriated. But should they stick with it? Should they stick with it? And Nick and Diff, did you think it was worth it in the end? There would be more picturing 4 stoned out left-wing commentators all in a mound of beanbags as a cameo for Graham Lol. Fearing Loathing in Las Vegas is on and repeat in my house. That's from Yuri. My favourite film is Lord of the Rings, also my favourite book, coincidentally. Very, very, very good adaptation. Very good adaptation. Because it was done by people who are enthusiastic about it. The reason why the Hobbit films are so bad, not just the lack of prep for it, it's just the heart and soul wasn't in it. Peter Jackson didn't want to direct those movies. He was kind of forced into it by the studio, and you can tell. I think the new Superman film is reviewing well. I think it's got like 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, last I checked. We're going to try and watch F1 first, though, says Nick and Diff. Yeah, I don't like Superman as a character, as a superhero. I think he's boring. I think that's the big problem with him. He's either terrifying or boring, and there's nothing. I don't know. He's just a big Boy Scout, isn't he? I like the idea of him just coming to Earth and being evil, like in I don't know, Invincible, or The Boys or Kick-Ass or something where people have messed up superpowers. Oh, actually, in The Boys, no one has superpowers, do they? No one has superpowers. Not The Boys, sorry. Kick-Ass, no one really has superpowers in that. It's just people with lots of gadgets who like to fight. Watchmen, that's what I'm thinking of. Watchmen, there's only one person who's actually a superhero in that, isn't there? It's just, the others are just rich Nepo babies who like to go dress up and punch people. The TV series of Watchmen was very good, actually. It had nothing to do with Alan Moore. It didn't want anything to do with it. But it really got into the Tulsa massacre of I think it was 1921 in Tulsa, when Black Wall Street was wiped out. They were bombed. The literally planes flew over and dropped bombs on this black neighborhood in Tulsa. And yeah, the story of Watchmen, the TV series, really leans into that, and it's more of a sequel to the comic book than it is to the Zack Snyder film. Yuri, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Isn't F1 how you tell royalty to fuck off? Yes, one can go F themselves. F1. I like that. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Yuri. That's very kind of you. We get back to the news. What was in the news today? Post office scandal. We're going to talk about this. And sorry, I'm got content warning for the next 5 minutes because this is pretty grim. It's come out that the Horizon scandal led to 13 suicides, 13 known suicides linked to wrongful convictions of sub-postmasters under faulty Horizon software.
This is mostly older workers. Lifelong reputations were destroyed, financial ruin, public shame. Some were wrongfully imprisoned. Fujitsu created the software, denies responsibility, still getting UK government contracts. That's fucking mind blowing, isn't it? And the post office cover up was just staggering. I hope you've all watched Alan Bates versus the post office. It's worth a watch. But yeah, threats to whistleblowers, perjury. The post office committed perjury in court. Internal memos show they knew about this from the start. Still no prosecutions. Still no prosecutions. This is Britain's corporate Hillsborough. Avoidable, covered up, still lacking justice. And the public inquiry must lead to real consequences, or it's all theatre. These motherfuckers who did this need to go to jail for the rest of their miserable motherfucking lives. Simple as that. Human life is sacred. And these twats took they took everything from these people. They took their jobs, they took their dignity, they took their liberty, and in some cases, at least 13 that we know of, they took their lives. And that's just, And this is while the post office was a profit-making industry. It was privatised, wasn't it? They had to make some profit. They had to make some cutbacks. They had to make some profit at all costs. This is the market. This is capitalism. It lies, it cheats, it squirms around. Unbridled capitalism. Everything that people accuse socialism of, actually, capitalism is guilty of. They're forcing you to pay into a system that doesn't give you anything in return. It just helps the elites at the top. That's what they accuse socialism of. Sounds like capitalism to me, mate. Sounds like capitalism to me. Yeah, cross-party MPs are calling for jail time. Not just compensation. Not just compensation. So yeah, like I say, Paula Venables is a ghoul. Yeah, Paula Venables, privately educated, of course. I'm not saying there's a direct link between sociopathic tendencies, and having gone to one of these see you next Tuesday farms, but they do seem to pump out a disproportionate number of people who do not give a flying fuck about anyone but themselves. Anyone but themselves. I mean, Paula Reynolds puts it out that she's a Christian. Hey, Paula, listen, got news for you. Jesus was full of peace and love, yeah? He would fucking hate you. He would fucking despise you. Just saying. So yeah, that's in the news. I'm going to go over to the papers now because it's pretty dominated by this, by the Horizon scandal. But I'll go over there. So obviously, content warning here. Trigger warning for people who are maybe not doing so well mental health wise. Please just maybe come back in 5 minutes, or just watch the show tonight. Just watch us tonight. Me and Rach just going to have a laugh tonight at 6 o'clock. We're going to take the piss. And then we're going to be joined, hopefully, for a little bit at the end by Ben. Ben Chambers is coming around. We're going to have another horror movie night. I've got to make him dinner. It's my turn to do dinner tonight. So any suggestions for din-dins that I can make before I start doing the show? I might put something in the slow cooker. That's what I'm thinking. But should make him scouse. That'd be good. I'll go to the co-op and get some lamb or something, make some scouse. Everyone likes scouse. And leave it cooking all day. Okay, is it cheating? Is it cheating making scouse in a slow cooker? Because you're supposed to make it on the stove. Ooh, I might get into trouble with my scouse followers. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to head over to the papers now. And like I say, trigger warning. This is pretty grim, okay? First of all, we have to... Where are the papers? Papers! Hello? Hello, papers? Papers? Where are the papers? Why the paper? Oh, I know why the papers aren't appearing. I know what's going on. Haha. There you go. Sorry, I'd already clicked onto the Daily Mail, which gives a different URL. So yes, it needs to be the correct URL, or we won't pick it up. Starmer is like Monty Python's Black Knight, barely able to nip at Macron's heels. Okay, whatever, Sarah Vine. Fucking nutter. Woman wears red dress. There you go. She's got a tiara on. That's nice. She's got a red dress on. Okay. Kate stars at dazzling bands. Oh, I don't care. Right. Here's the main story here. Post office has blood on its hands over a toll of 13 suicides. Horizon scandal report blasts bosses. The post office has blood on its hands after at least 13 people were driven to suicide by the Horizon IT scandal, campaigners claimed last night. The devastating human impact of Britain's worst miscarriage of justice was laid bare in a damning inquiry report published yesterday. At least 59 other victims also tried or considered taking their own lives. Just so fucking grim. And if there's any reason, to hang on, like, you can't let these fuckers win. You can't let these motherfuckers get away with it. As simple as that. Like, these twats will continue to get away with it until enough of us get together and say and roar no. This ends today. This ends now. And we need justice for the people whose lives were cut short by corporate greed, malfeasance, misappropriation, by these fuckers in charge, these narcissistic, only I can fix it, only I can solve all your problems, gobshites rising to these high up positions based on absolutely nothing but the fucking people they wanked off in school because they went to one of these posh twat farms that just, oh my God. And look, I know I've got a disclaimer on my private school mafia site. Not everyone who went to private school is a fucking wrong'un. Yeah, they're not. That's true. But there is a disproportionate number of people, a very, very disproportionate number of people. Matt Hancock went to private school, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson also went to private school. Those two men responsible for the deaths of over 100,000 elderly people in this country that they were supposed to put a ring of fucking fire around or some ring of protection. Ring of protection, they said. Ring of protection. And this is what we got. Anyway, sex chat Greg is sacked is on the front of the Mirror here, over on one side, if you'd see my bloody pointer. Wow, nothing's working today. I'm having one of these. Why can't you see me pointer? There you go. Sex chat Greg is sacked. Quite rightly. So there's been over 50 accusations, 50 accusations against Greg Wallace. And they've only just sacked him. The BBC. And they've learnt nothing from Jimmy Savile. Like, they've learnt absolutely nothing from Jimmy Savile, Tim Westwood, Russell Brand. And they don't understand. They still don't understand the tyrannical power relationship of TV and film and radio. Because the people who work in those industries know how lucky they are. They know that they are the 1%, less than 1%, 0.01% of the population who get to do something they love and get paid for it. And so these big fuck off corporations absolutely 100% take the absolute piss. And, I don't earn much doing this channel, doing these shows. I'm pretty much reliant on super chats coming in. And yet, I earn substantially more doing this than I did working for 1 year for the BBC, for Lonely Planet, visiting every country in the world, well, 133 countries of the world in the first year without flying. A journey that got me put in jail twice. And I got paid nothing, actually. I mean, if I was supposed to get expenses, I didn't get anything. I didn't get anything at all. And they said, "Oh, down the line, you'll get 25% of the profits we make." And I went, "Yeah, okay." I signed up. Do you know how much I've made from the profits from the TV show? That the eight-part half-hour TV show that has been broadcast in 80 countries around the world. Do you know how much? A few hundred quid. A few hundred quid over 15 years. I get a statement from BBC Worldwide every 6 months, and it's 0.01 penny. That's it. They just tell me, this is the money we've got from your show that you made for us for free. And I met the producer of the show a year after it had been aired, and he said, I can't believe you signed that contract. I can't believe you signed that deal. I was like, at the time, I was on a fucking cargo ship going from the Faroe Islands to Rotterdam, and I couldn't afford an expensive bloody lawyer. They had me absolutely over a barrel. I had already started the journey. Without the little money that I would get from the deal, I wouldn't have been able to continue at that point, because I factored that into my budgeting. And don't forget, I travel around the world on a fucking shoestring. Like, I spent less than 30 grand over the 4 years that I was traveling. And yeah, I know this is nothing in comparison with women and men who have been sexually assaulted by these motherfuckers like, Savile and Brand and Wallace and Tim Westwood. Also privately educated Tim Westwood, by the way. Greg Wallace wasn't, but Russell Brand went to the Sylvia Young Fame School. Something that Vicky McClure, who I met last year when she was doing a talk about getting more working class people into film and TV. Only 8% of people in film and TV working class, and she got she was offered a place at Sylvia Young. She couldn't afford it. She wasn't given a scholarship, so she couldn't go. If she had been born into relative wealth, like Russell Brand was, or other famous stars of our stage and screen, she would have got that. And so what happens is, because of this tyrannical power relationship, people who didn't go to private school, people who did go to state school, are so chuffed when someone puts anything in front of them saying, hey, we're going to have a TV series. Are you going to say no to that? It's like doing a TED Talk. Are you going to say no to doing a TED Talk? Are you fuck? If someone asks you to do a TED Talk, you fucking do the TED Talk. Even if it ends up costing you hundreds or maybe thousands of pounds to go to wherever it is to do the fucking TED Talk, which you don't get paid for. Someone's making a lot of money out of that. It ain't you. But you don't say no. The BBC say, do you want to do a TV show? You don't say no. And this is the power they have, and they don't seem to fucking realize how demonic it is. And these motherfuckers, like Wallace and they get away with it. They get away with going around abusing people who work for them. And the people who are abused, the runners, the set dressers, the hairstylists, the makeup people that they abuse, feel like they can't tell anyone. And it gets worse when they do tell someone, their words are dismissed. They're just like, oh, I don't care. Why are you telling me this? We need a systemic change in our media in this country. And these accusations shouldn't, this should have not been a thing. Like, this should have been nipped in the bud 20 fucking years ago, where this guy was clearly acting out of line and people were complaining about him, and those complaints should have been recorded. So it got to a point where, it was obviously not a one-off. It wasn't a drunken mistake. You could possibly, plausibly argue, and with a huge apology campaign. I'm very sorry about doing this thing I did. I'll never do it again. But no, systemic, absolutely systemic. 50 people have come forward about this guy being a wronger. Why wasn't it catalogued? Why wasn't it written down? Why did no one send this information from one production company to another? Why did that not happen? Where's the duty of care for the people working in the TV, radio and film industry in this country? Where is it? Because every fucking day we seem to find a new story about somebody abusing their position of power. Not just in the media, but in all walks of life. And we need to come down on this shit like a ton of bricks. And when people do this sort of thing, it needs to be nipped in the bud. Because it's like when a rapist gets away with it and then goes on to rape someone else. That's the issue. That needs to be nipped in the bud. Do not do that. You'll never work in this industry again. But instead, it's all about, oh, you know, Mel Gibson, is he that bad, really, if you think about it? Kevin Spacey, yeah, well, you know, he wasn't found guilty in a court of law because it's really difficult to prove in a court of law that someone fondled you 25 years ago. But, you know, let's have him back, you know? Harvey Weinstein, he's just misunderstood from his fucking prison cell. Had a couple of super chats come in. Thank you very much to Pygmalion for the £5 super chat saying just because. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you very much, Pygmalion. Thank you. That's very kind. Anne Phillips, £5 super chat. Again, spreading a little joy, only a little because I need to save up for the Triffid job. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Anne. We've got Triffids here that we need to sort out as well. So, yeah, I will put the £5 towards doing something about our Triffids. And Paula, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Scientists come from state schools. Yeah. Which is why climate change scientists are ignored, left, right, and centre, because they're not taught the rhetorical skills that people are taught in private schools. But there you go. A bit of poisoning. Why do they attend? Says Leonora's. Anne says, and in case it all sounds suggestive, I've got loads of brambles, too much to deal with, and some shrubs, and the garden is a jungle. It's gotta go. Yeah, it's quite satisfying to get the old secateurs out and, you know, get the things under control. The shift has already started. New media like YouTube and podcasters are making legacy media increasingly irrelevant, and it's hitting their bottom lines already. Again, I don't mean again. I mean, that's a really good point, and something that we should talk about, because new media needs to offer protection as well, and it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. So if you are a content creator on these different platforms, especially if you're a female content creator, the amount of shit that you can get is absolutely abominable, and the response to it by these platforms is fucking shite. I mean, there's degrees of shiteness. Obviously, X is at the top of the shite list. X is absolutely fucking abysmal on every fucking level. But yeah, then there's others that aren't much better. I'm gonna just. I don't realize I've been looking like a light bulb the last few days. Let me just turn down. That's a bit better, isn't it? Look like I'll look more like a human being now. Graham Hughes, the human light bulb with a hat on. The brambles got way beyond my ability to deal with them. I've called the professionals. It's fair enough. I'd like to get the professionals in to look at my lawn. I just can't get it to grow like I want it to. Put down loads of grass seeds every spring, and it just goes in there, whatever. I think birds eat them all. Veg Pie, thank you very much. Sorry, small money, but Byline Fest this weekend. Oh, Bylines this weekend. That's exciting. So this weekend we've got Bylines. We've also got the Miners Gala here in Durham. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to either of them because I've got a family commitment. So I'm actually going back to Liverpool on Saturday. So yeah, hi Mum, if you're watching. But yes, it all comes together in the summer, doesn't it? Nick and Div says the podcasters and YouTubers also need to have a duty of care in accurate information. We can't not have established media because there are more rules to stand by. Indie news, not at all. Yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, we try our best in our little gang to try and be as accurate as possible. But obviously, if we do fuck up, we like to say, yeah, we were wrong. And make that very, very clear. So yeah, I'd like to see them more to be a two-way street here with content creators who have a bit of a platform and their responsibilities, and then the responsibilities of the platform towards their creators as well. 800k for Rooney, and Graham gets pennies from the BBC. Well, I don't even get the pennies, Jim Bob, because you need £100 in order for them to send a check. So they never send a check. It's been shown on the Travel Channel in America. It's been shown in China. It's been shown in India. It's really inoffensive, you see. One of the wonderful things about my show, the Lonely Planet's The Odyssey, It's also called Graham's World in some places, which I never like that name, but so I'll just call it Lonely Planet's The Odyssey. Is that it's kind of inoffensive in a way. It's not political. It's just going to these places and me. It's my trials and tribulations of trying to get from one place to the next. That's what it's more about. It doesn't really delve into the historical context of each place that I go to, which would be a little bit more politically charged. And in a way, I wish I'd done that. In a way, I wish I'd done the journey 10 years later, because with the way that the internet is now, it would have been perfect for a weekly or even a daily show of how I was getting on, which I could have filmed, could have uploaded it to the cloud, and someone else could have edited it for me. For the first 6 months, I was editing my 5-minute clips or 10-minute clips each day, each week. I'd edit everything I did down. But after the first 6 months, I was told by the production company that I had to take down everything that I put onto YouTube at that point. Like the first episode of what I put on YouTube got 250,000 views. 250,000 views. I could give you the link. You can see it it's unlisted at the moment, but 250,000 views. And yet, they were like, no, it's you're showing footage that we want it to be shown for the first time on TV. We don't want it to be on the internet first and then on TV. They didn't quite understand the power of YouTube back in 2009. I did in my defense. I pitched it to them as a YouTube deal, like as a YouTube weekly documentary on YouTube. And then after the first 6 months, because I was told to take those videos down, that my contract only lasted for the first year. So after the first year, I could have made my own videos going forward. Like each week, I could have done them with videos. And I really should have done. But partly because of my ADHD, partly because I had a lot on and I was trying to, get around the world and do all this stuff. And it was just hard. It was just really hard to put the time aside to take 10 hours of footage that I filmed that particular week and then edit it down to a 5-minute video while on the road, like while in the back of a coach going through the desert, the Arabian desert or wherever the fuck I was. And maybe, looking back, I should have spent more time when I was on like cruise ships and stuff, working on those videos. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I've got a little bit of regret about that. Just the timing was a little bit out. I was a little bit ahead of my time. I really do feel that way. I'm not sad that I made the TV show. I'm really glad that I got to do that, and the experience of doing that was great. But when it comes to the format that I think it would have worked best on, I think it would have worked best on YouTube. Just checking in every other day, but just having someone else to edit it, just having one person working part-time editing my shit together would have made all the difference. But I didn't have that, so. Anyway, Blue Badger, try a test pit in the garden where it bulls the most. Could be very rocky or something like a marl pit. No, I like the whole garden I put in myself. Like, so this was it's just concrete in the back. It's a backyard, and I put in a garden there, raised garden, with layers of rock and then gravel, and then layers of smaller stones, and then a good foot or so of soil. It was a big job. So yeah, there's enough. The soil's fine. It gets sun. It gets rain. It just it just needs more. There's a little bit of magic that I need to add to the garden that I don't know quite how to do, because I need to talk to it like a groundskeeper, like groundskeeper Willie from The Simpsons probably could help me out on this. Sorry, I've gone on a complete fucking tangent here. But I was originally talking about the tyrannical relationship between people working in TV and this, working the grunt jobs and the people who are like the stars of TV. And that needs to change. For your lawn, build an aerator. Sorry, buy an aerator. Yeah, that sounds a good idea. A mole pit sounds like something from Star Wars. Turf might be better, and the only good turf is the stuff you use for gardening. I put turf down, like I bought turf. Turf went down on the foot of soil. It's got good drainage. It doesn't fill up with water. Water drains out of it. The drainage is all set up. It's all done like right. I don't know if the turf that I got was particularly great turf, but seed packs are available from I mean, I have wildflowers growing in the lawn. It's not like a bowling green or anything. It's just that it has a lot of it's not as. Do you know what? Around the edges it is, and I think when I put down the grass seeds, it just blows to the edges. I think that's one of the problems, and also the stuff in the middle gets eaten by the birds. I don't know. Everyone's giving me advice now on my lawn. Sand and air for your lawn. Use a fork. Use a fork? How do I use a fork? Grok ended up referring to itself as Michael Litter before being switched off. Michael Hitler. Sorry, I can't read that. Mecha Hitler. Sorry, I really couldn't read that because the text was really small on my screen. You can see how small it is. I don't know. If you're watching it on a big TV, it's probably a lot bigger. But Graham, do a show on UFOs. There's a massive rabbit hole. Ooh, on UFOs. What you mean? Rabbit holes turn in movies, or just or just UFOs in general? No such thing as good turf. Very good. I like that. Thank you very much to Hannah making tube, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna just head over to the papers again. Sorry, content warning. Horrors of Horizon inquiry. At least 13 postal workers are believed to have taken their own lives. And 10 tried and 59 contemplated it. Report calls for damages to be paid swiftly to 10,000 sub postmasters. That is mad. The Telegraph here. Double fault. Wimbledon's AI files up again. Yeah, we seem to be having a little bit of problems with the system. Can I just say, right? Sometimes on this show, on this channel, we have some glitches. Sometimes the animation doesn't quite work on the Steam of the Morning Brew ident there, and sometimes the music doesn't play correctly at the end. Sometimes my name doesn't come up when I press the button for my name to come up. Sometimes I'm a few minutes late because my computer decides to reset itself, or there's been an update that won't let me use the programs I need to use to get the show started. But I gotta say, Wimbledon is a multi-million-pound event, and they can't get their tech working. GB News got £80 million startup funding. 80 million with an M startup funding from rich millionaires, billionaires, gobshites, privately educated wankers, the banjo player's dad from Mumford and Sons. My God, I'm telling you, the level of unprofessionality at the very top just really, really disturbs me. The fact that Labour can't do this, the fact that Labour can't put together a morning show for their YouTube channel every day, just a morning show talking about what Labour's up to, or doing a press conference each morning, their inability to do that with the money they've got, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I feel like screaming from the, going up into the attic, opening the window. We don't have a window in our attic, but if we did, and just getting me loud hailer out and just shouting, look at what I can do with no budget whatsoever. What the fuck is wrong with you people? But yeah, glitches happen everywhere, and they happen at multi-million-pound sporting events, which they prep for all year round, and they can't even get the AI to work properly. Norman Tebbit is dead. Oh, how sad. Never mind. The anti-woke Brexiteer who roused public. Yeah, it looks like Norman finally got on his bike, fucked off. Moving on. Here we have Macron to blame PM for small boats crisis. Starmer must tackle UK's pull factors for migrants if he wants deal. Pull factors. The Tories wants to put people in a boat. A big boat. A big, unsafe boat. With Legionnaire's disease in it. Here, have some Legionnaire's disease. Enjoy your stay. Tories wanted to take people to Rwanda. Yeah. But apparently it's the UK's, but we've got to stop being so good. And this is the mentality of the Brexiters. They want to destroy our country. They want to make our country the shittest place on earth to live so refugees don't come here. Never mind that we have to live here. Because the people who are doing this, the likes of Farage, they spend half their life in another country. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about this country. This country's just a launch pad for them to go somewhere else. Captain Coconut. There has always been a fault with electronics at a fundamental level, as we cannot create a random number from a binary input. It means we rely on algorithms to protect us, and they can be hacked. There's also another fault with electronics. It's all ones and zeros, my friends. Ones and zeros. And do you know what particularly strong solar storms can do? They can flip a 1 to a 0 or a 0 to a 1. And there's nothing we can do about it. Don't know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, but it does. And that's why all good programming needs redundancy built into it. So that, you know, if that particular bit of data gets mangled by a solar flare, the rest of the data there is to not just make sure that that data is correct, but also error correct it through very complicated mathematical sums, which are really impressive, but complicated nonetheless. Stop the boats, introduce legal routes, says Diz. Yeah, absolutely, Diz. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Probably a debate we can't fit into YouTube comments, says Nick and Diff, but I agree. It's a big problem and it's only getting worse with misinformation online. Yeah. Graham chatting to the angry astronaut about UFOs would be a good show. Musk was replying to Grok request personally about Epstein. Jesus. What? That's from Sean. According to the post office, computers never fail. Pissed myself laughing. Yeah, that says Sean. Yeah. This idea that the internet's infallible, sorry, you know, there's people who watch something on the internet and they think it's real. They just assume that everything that they like is real and everything they dislike is fake news. Makes for a very weird, subjective reality in which we live right now, where everyone just makes up their own stuff of what they think is real and what's not. And since we've kind of let loose our threads on reality, you know, our hold on the threads of reality, I think we're facing a sort of dark future where people just don't believe in climate change because the billionaires tell them not to. Anyway, back to the papers. We've got Tiara fit for a princess. Oh, isn't that nice? There's a woman from 42. She's there. British BBC bosses under pressure over 50 new Wallace claims. Jesus. Bayo Tapestry on his way to England. Great news. I think we discussed that on Geoscope last night. Alison Peniston is saying Britain is kowtowing to the Islamist mob. There you go. Nice little bit of racist, Islamophobic dog whistling there. Horizon scandal drove 13 people to suicide. Marseille wildfires force residents to flee. OBR issues alert over vulnerable economy. Britain's economy is increasingly vulnerable. Well, of course it is, because we left the EU. How to do French chic, even if you're British. There you go. Help, I've curated my life, whatever, from Harriet. Harriet wants you to know that she's curated her life. Should we have a look at Harriet? Let's find out more about Harriet Walker, shall we? Harriet Walker. She's an editor. Oh, she's an editor and an English actress? No, there's a different one. Oh my God. Okay. Harriet Walter. Oh, okay. So Harriet Walker, she is the editor, and she doesn't have a Wikipedia page. I do. She's the fashion editor for the Times. She's the fash editor for the Times, which is nice. Harriet Walker, fashion editor for the Times. Oh, it's a post. It's a post. Harriet Walter is an actress, an English actress. She's received an Olivia Award and nominations for a Tony Award, 5 Emmy Awards. That's really nice. She's the niece of British actor Sir Christopher Lee, and she went to an independent boarding school called Cranbourne Chase School. Oh, that's nice. Must be hard to get into acting when your uncle is literally Christopher Lee. You know, nepotism comes from the same root as nephew. Nephew.
Yeah, MEP, NEP, nepotism means giving your nephew a job, or in this case, your niece. I mean, I don't begrudge her. I don't think she's a bad actress. Never really heard of her, but I don't necessarily think she's a bad actress. I just think it's a little bit unfair that the only people who get to be professional actors in this country are people who went to posh schools. And until that changes, I'm going to keep banging on about it. Right. Anyway, there's the guy from 42 and his wife there standing there. She's wearing red. Quick. Hold the front page. Labour rules out paying doctors more to halt strike. BMA backs 6 months of action on 55% turnout. So we'll see what happens there. I think that they'll, as I said yesterday, I think they'll come to some sort of arrangement. The one thing that Labour do, that the Tories didn't do, is Labour actually going for negotiations in these situations to find out, a midway point where everyone can walk away unhappy to some degree. Labour will always do the right thing once all the other options are extinct, have been tried out. That's a mashing up of what that's a mashup of what Winston Churchill said about America. You can always rely on America to do the right thing after all other options have been extinguished. A lot of cowboys were black too, says Steve. Yes, it's true. I'm as mad as hell and I ain't going to take it anymore, says Steve Binning from Peter Finch in the film Network, which is a really great movie. Still a great movie. Great social satire about what TV studios and stations are willing to do in order to chase the audience, driving a guy to madness, bringing him on, even though he's obviously had a psychotic break. Let's put him on the TV every night to rant about things. I was reminded of that when you see these YouTubers who just like shout at the screen, like Alex Jones, that little twat from America, who said that the Sandy Hook murders were not a real event. They didn't really happen for some reason. That reminds me of putting someone who's clearly mentally ill on a platform and then people listen to them and think they've got something to say. Nick says, Macron, as the Channel Tunnel celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, let's not allow the channel to grow wider. Do you know what's fascinating about the Channel Tunnel? It actually takes longer to get through the Channel Tunnel than it did to take the hovercraft. Remember the hovercrafts in the 80s? Did anyone go on the hovercraft? Did anyone ever take the hovercraft across the English Channel? I did. It was great. So much fun. But apparently they cost too much to maintain and they used a lot of fuel. So obviously going on an electric train through a tunnel is a much better idea. Paula Thomas, we can't see the papers now. Yeah, I know. It's on me. I know. I can go back to the papers when I'm talking about the papers. It's just, just thought I'd go off on one about something. We'll go back to the papers. Okay, so Macron calls for relation spéciale to end reliance on the US. Maybe that's not how you pronounce that. I'm sorry for any French people watching. MasterChef fired. Greg, 50 new victims. More Grope claims I won't be cancelled. I think you fucking will, you fucking shiny-headed nonce. Guardian here, how to master the art of small talk. Okay, should we talk about this, right? Small talk. I hate small talk. I hate it. Anyone with ADHD will hate small talk. This is why we hate it when they say you should talk about politics and religion. I'm like, so what am I supposed to talk about? Just ask people how their day went. Okay. As much as I would like to give a fuck about that, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to know. I'm sorry. It's just the way I am. I apologize that I'm not interested in your small talk. And if you ask me how my day was, I don't really know how to reply to that. It was a day. Things happen. I guess. Was it good or bad? I don't know. It's a difficult question for me to answer. I don't like answering that question. How was my day? Don't like making small talk. I like talking about stuff. That's what I like to talk about. I like to talk about politics and ideas and concepts and philosophy and science and stuff. And I'm sorry. I find small talk excruciating. You have to understand. I don't want to talk about small talk. I want to talk about anything but. I mean, you might argue that talking about movies and stuff is small talk, but I feel like I'm talking about something. And I know for a fact this pisses off some of my friends, but I have no idea what a lot of my friends do for a living.
I have no idea at all what my friends do for a living. I've got a vague idea, but it never stays in my brain. It just doesn't. I just I want to care. I do. My brain just doesn't. I don't. And so yeah, small talk to me. And also, this is kind of a great little coming together of me and Kat, is she hates small talk too. It's really difficult for her to suss out what people are saying. And if they're talking about something that she doesn't give a shit about, it's very difficult to concentrate on what they're saying. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, I don't care. Anyway, moving on. Sorry. How to master the art of small talk? I don't know. Not with me. Won't work with me. Won't work with me. I'm sorry. Alcaraz ends Norrie's Wimbledon dream. So that's the British player got knocked out of Wimbledon, apparently. Limit trials by jury to save justice system from collapse, as reports. This is Brian Levison, a former judge with 55 years of criminal law, who was asked by the government to come up with proposals to tackle the record backlog in the justice system that was left by the bloody Tories. Should we have a little chat about this? We've already gone massively over time. Who cares now? Okay. I'm just going to say okay. He knows better than I do, and we need to do something about the backlog. I know this isn't going to go down well with everybody. Recommendations in the new 378-page report include a new division of the Crown Court with a judge and 2 magistrates to hear either way offences, those in which the defendant can currently choose to be heard by either a magistrate or a jury in the Crown Court, removing the right to elect to be tried in Crown Court for offences that carry a maximum sentence of 2 years or less, reclassifying some either way offences so they can be tried only in the magistrate's court, trial by a judge alone for serious and complex fraud cases. I kind of agree with that. The right for all Crown Court defendants to elect to be tried by a judge alone. I know that this isn't optimal, but we're not in an optimal situation at the moment. And what about the fraud cases? I kind of get that, because to be an expert on fraud, it takes a lifetime. Like, trying to explain that to 12 people in a jury, and it means that a lot of fraudsters get away with it when they possibly shouldn't. Paula says, small talk equals feathers and nonsense, social glue, unfortunately. Yeah, you're right. It is. Sorry, it just doesn't work on me. I get it. And I understand why soap operas are so popular, because it allows people who work together to make small talk about people they don't know, fictional characters in the TV show, which saves them having to talk about their own family and what's going on in their own lives, which they might not want to talk about, or they might think is infinitely boring and not going to be of much interest to anybody. I guess I'm good at talking to people. I don't know if I'm good at small talk. I don't know if I'm particularly adept at that. One thing I will say, if you are talking to someone, make sure you don't talk at them too much. And I know you're going to think, fucking, that's a bit rich, Graham. You come here every morning, you talk for over an hour at us, but I try and make it a two-way conversation as much as, the technology allows, and, it being sensible. Harry Flashman says, I went on the hovercraft in 1986. Yeah, great days. The trial by jury thing is worrying, but at the same time, something has to be done, says Anne. That's exactly how I feel. As long as they pick suitable categories of offence to include, it could be okay. And don't forget, because of the overloaded system at the moment, a lot of people are choosing to plead guilty for crimes they haven't done. Okay, so here's the thing, right? If it's a crime that you know you didn't do, right, but you've been accused of it, you could be in a holding cell in a jail for 2 years if you elect to have a trial. Whereas if you plead guilty or don't plead guilty if you say to the police, I did it, and it doesn't have to go to a trial, then you won't spend 2 years in jail. You'll get a custodial sentence of maybe 18 months. You'll only serve 9 months of that before you're up for parole. So in those situations, people who are innocent, they say they're guilty because it means less jail time than going to court and proving their innocence. So the system at the moment is deeply, deeply flawed. And as a result of that, we need to do something. And the only thing we're going to be able to do is yet another flawed system, but one that we hope is a little less flawed than the one that we've got at the moment, which will allow people who believe they're innocent to have their day in court. Not necessarily a Crown Court with a jury, but a day in court nonetheless, where the evidence is poured over by a judge. It's shit, but I think it's got to be done. I agree, Graham. Some juries are not able to understand complex evidence, says Diz. Yeah, and it means that people get away with it. And that's what I don't want. I don't want innocent people going to jail, which is happening at the moment because of the backlog. And I don't want guilty people getting away with it, which happens at the moment because of complexities in trials. And there's a lot of sort of... The other problems we've got with jury trials is there's a lot of mistrials that happen because of one jury member doing something fucking stupid, which makes it all a bit difficult. Ian says there was literally a thing this week where a library in Wales under reform burned any works that reference trans. Yeah, did you see that? Well, I mean, they were saying there were books about trans people in the children's section when there weren't. And they found this one book that had a trans character in or something. I mean, yeah. If you meet a TERF, they are Nazis. They're fascists. The F in TERF stands for fascist. That's who they are. They are the fash. And once you go down that route, you turn into a right-wing fucking bigot. Not just about that. I've told you the story before when I was on the train going to Liverpool for the Labour Party conference, and a load of people in my carriage were TERFs. And they were all having this discussion, and I wasn't really in a position to say anything because I had this work that needed to be done before I got to the fucking conference. But listening to their conversation was horrific, and I wish I'd recorded it. I wish I'd just got my phone out and just pressed record on my phone so I could play back their conversation. Obviously, they were transphobic. They were also homophobic. They were also racist. They were bigoted across the board. They were dismissive of people who suffer from mental health issues. They were very, very cruel about a particular child who was autistic. And the stuff they were saying was absolutely abominable. Absolutely abominable. And they were all the For You women. The For You women, what they called the For Women Scotland lot. It was that lot. It was that same bunch of clocky motherfuckers. And you just want to say to them, are you trans? Is that why you got a big problem with it? Well, no, I'm not trans. Well, why do you look trans then? Is that why you have a problem with trans people? Because people keep mistaking you for being trans when you're not. Is that the problem? Maybe you could try and feminize yourself up a bit. Maybe wear a bit of makeup. Maybe lose a few pounds. I don't know. Maybe wear a bag over your head. I'm not gay enough to be particularly catty about that. But if you said that in a very, very catty gay voice, that would be chef's kiss. Chef's fucking kiss. Paula, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The vital thing to preserve is the fact/law distinction. So maybe a judge sitting with 2 paid lay members. Yeah, that's an idea. But I mean, all this has been put forward by Leveson, and I hope that Labour are probably going to take it on board because they really do need to do something about the situation with the juries. Sorry, not with the juries, with the court system being backed up to the hilt. So yeah, there are certain things they could do to improve the system, but like I say, the system at the moment is really broken, and it's not serving the population very well. One of the reasons why there's so few custodial places for people to put cells for people to put people in
is because of this huge backlog in the justice system. And thank you very much, Paula, for that super chat. That's very kind of you. I would have started live streaming it. Yeah, that would have been an idea. The only issue with that would have been it was on a train, and God, especially the Transpennine Express. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Transpennine fucking nightmare. It has loads of black spots, and it goes through a load of tunnels, especially when we're going through the Pennines, like near Huddersfield and all that. And so the signal would have broken down a lot. It would have been better just to actually record it and then play it back, especially those bits where they were being incredibly ableist. Like that was like, I mean, the whole conversation was sickening, but that when they were ableist towards a child, they were discussing who went to the school of one of these parents, these disgusting turfy parents. The way that they spoke about these kids was just, it was beyond redemption. It really was. And Elle says, spot on, Graham. It extends beyond trans with them. Anything different, and they're nasty about it. They're just really, you're right, Elle. They're just nasty pieces of work. They're just really horrible people. And I don't think there's any coming back for a lot of them. I think they're going to have a road to Damascus moment where they see just how horrible they're being. But because, like with anti-Semitism, it's seen as something that is a bit more socially acceptable on the left than being overtly racist or being overtly xenophobic. They think that they can get away with it. They think they're being reasonable. They think they're the goodies. That's the mad thing. It's just like the 9/11 hijackers thought they were the goodies. They thought they were doing a good thing. And these motherfuckers, they think they're doing a good thing. They honestly believe in their twisted little fucked up walnut of a brain. They are protecting women when actually they're doing the absolute fucking opposite of that. They're making life more difficult for women, especially women who don't conform to gender stereotypes. And especially women who aren't white. I mean, it's no surprise that all the TERFs, including Queen TERF herself, or King TERF herself, J.K. Rowling, XY Rowling, why she went after Imami Khalif last summer with an absolute vengeance because she didn't look Western, white, feminine enough for their liking, and they want to go around being the gender police or some such nonsense. It's painful. Graham, will there be another Lego build anytime soon? Oh, Sarah. Oh, yeah, I've got my little globe there on the edge of the screen. If you look very closely, you can see little Lego people standing on top of the globe. That's me and the family. That's me and Kat and the kids, and we've made our own, or had made for us, our own little Lego people. And they're standing on the world there, which is really cute. Although if someone does spin the globe around, they'll all fall off and go down the back of the thing they're on. Paula says, I've been on the Transpennine Express in the 80s. Sounds like it's still the same. Oh my God, Paula, I've been on it, and I've told you this before, there's been no toilets. There's been no toilets on the fucking train from Liverpool to Newcastle. No toilet on the train for like a 3-hour journey. Just wow. Captain Coconut, the 9/11 bombers thought they were the goodies. Did they argue over the pronunciation of a scone, and then fight a massive kitten? Yes, they did, along with Bill Oddie. Was he in the goodies? Bill Oddie, feel your hands all over my body. That was for the B3TA fans at the back. Rather good. Was it rathergood.com? Remember the days. Bunny's too tight to mention. Yes. But along with Graham Greene, was it? Timbuk Taylor and Great. Or was that someone else? Was that another gang? There was the Goodies, wasn't there? The Goons. I don't want to get them mixed up with the Goons because sometimes get mixed up. That was Spike Milligan, wasn't it? And his mates. Anyway, I loved it when Spike Milligan got an award off Prince
Charles and called him a snivelling little twat or something. What a dude. He was punk rock. On a post in social media, Kent County Council's refuck leader, Lyndon Karen, said that books were removed with immediate effect, a victory for common sense in Kent. In Kent. Can we sell Kent to the French? Can we? Come on, Macron, take it. Just take it. Diz says women over 50 are invisible. That's very true, Diz. Hence our concept for a spy thriller where you think it's all these young, hot, men and women going around doing all this cool stuff and going to casinos and driving fast cars. But the actual spy who's actually doing the real work is like this 57-year-old lady who is like in every scene of the movie, but you just don't notice her till the end. And that's the big twist. It was her all along. And she was the woman who was putting the coffee down on the table. She was the hotel receptionist. She was the stewardess on the plane. She was the... and you just don't notice till the... And you're shown all the clips of her at the end of the movie. You're like, oh yeah, okay. And she's like the master spy. I'm sure someone has already done that as a film, but there you go. Oh, I love Spike Milligan. Changed my brain, he did. Yeah, Chip. Spike Milligan was a legend. Just love the fact that on his gravestone it says, I told you I was ill. Graham Gardner. There you go. Graham Gardner. There's lots of Grahams in comedy, isn't there? And also Graham Chapman from Monty Python, who was the first of the gang to die, unfortunately. He was my favourite. He played obviously King Arthur in the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and also Brian in Life of Brian. Brian! And he spelled his name correctly as well, which is good. I worked on a BBC programme about Spike Milligan, one of my comedy heroes. Hated him from that point on. Horrible bloke, sadly. Oh, God, veg pie. Oh, God. Never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes. Never to research your heroes. They'll always turn out to be a wrong one. Anyway, so we've got a picture here of the state visit from King Sausage Fingers there, and Macron, who's got his fingers like really. Look at the way his hand is. It's really messed up. Look, he looks like he's squeezing his hand too tight. It looks like AI. It looks like it's been generated using AI. I mean, like seriously, look at it. I mean, it's just kind of weird. Can we zoom in? Can we get a zoom here? Can we get a zoom? Look at this. Look at this fist. Oh, hang on. There you go. Look at that fist. Isn't it messed up? Look at it. Ugh. Ugh. What's going on with your fist, Macron? Sort your fist out, you big fisty weirdo. Sorry, I'm making it too small now. Presenter Wallace fired from MasterChef. We've done that, and the post office scandal, which we talked about as well. That should be the headline in the Guardian there. It should be just Macron has weird fist. The iPaper there, UK state pension triple lock. The end is in sight. Dun dun dun. Finance watchdog warns triple lock must go, arguing it has made public finances unsustainable. The UK cannot afford the promises it has made to the public, says OBR chief Richard Hughes. No relation. The cost of the triple lock, which ensures state pension rises in line with whatever is highest of inflation wage increases, or 2.5%, is set to rise threefold against predictions to £15.5 billion by 2030. It means the government has no choice but to raise taxes or to reform pensions. Don't worry about it. I don't think I'm ever going to get a pension, so I'm just going to be whatever. Free family pass with the National Trust. Boom. They put white people on the cover now. I bet people complained. I bet readers of the Daily Express complained about yesterday's free family pass having a picture with some black children on the front cover of the Express to be like, oh, what? How dare they put black children? How dare black children go to a National Trust property? A bit like, do you remember when Loser Fox, privately educated, of course, went nuts about, there was an advert for I think Sainsbury's, and it had a black family. Going to Sainsbury's, and he boycotted he wanted to start a big national boycott of Sainsbury's for the crime of using a black family in an advert. People still ask that fucker's opinion on stuff, you know. They do. He still thinks he's got a voice. People still think he's got something, you know. logical or sane to say. Kai's a fucking nutter. Kai is a rich nutter from a very posh, privileged family. Back in the day, he would have been put in a sanitarium, put in a little straight jacket, padded cell a lot. But we don't do that anymore because we're too fucking woke. What a shame. The story on the Express is again on the Horizon scandal. It's got he never buckled or compromised. It's about Norman fucking Tebbit, who's shuffled off this mortal coil. Oh, what a shame. Who's that curl? Oh my God, Kate has curly hair. Woman at 42 curls her hair. Imagine that, right? Imagine you printed out 100,000 pamphlets, right? And you distributed them to all of the W.H. Smiths and or T.G. Jones or whatever the fuck they're called these days. You went to every single news agent in the land and you went, look, can you put that on the front? Can you put that on the front? You've got those boxes that they put the newspapers in all the service stations. Can you just put this leaflet? I printed out this leaflet. What is it? Well, it's the woman at 42. She's curled her hair. Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. We need to put that everywhere. We need to make sure that everywhere in the world knows, everywhere in the country knows that this woman, that she curls her hair. It's really important. It's really fucking important. And you travel around the country, you get legions of delivery people to go and deliver these pamphlets, right, which are about the size of a newspaper, to put on as you walk in, so you see them. You see these pamphlets if you walk into a shop, if you walk into a news agent's, if you walk into a service station, you'll see these leaflets there to say the woman who lives at number 42, she's curled her motherfucking hair. Wow. This newspaper, this fucking newspaper, right? This one here, the Express, right? They sell 121,000 copies of this paper a day. Imagine making 121,000 pamphlets to tell as many people in the country as you could that the woman at 42 has curled her hair. What a time to be alive. Okay, so Andrew Ray, thank you so much for the £10 super chat. That's very kind of you. Right to choose magistrate versus no jury is bad. Many judges and rich are Masons, biased, as well as private school list. How about one for the Masons, probably locked up for it or sudden non-living? Well, I just assume that anyone into private school is part of the Masons anyway, so. But yes, I'm aware that most High Court judges are privately educated. I don't know how that filters through the rest of the profession. I'd have to look into it. But Andrew, what's the solution then? I mean, yeah, I don't think magistrate judges lean so heavily towards the private school end of it all. But I don't know enough about it. But like I say, if you've got if you know you're innocent of a crime and you know it's going to take 2 years to get a trial, and in that time you're going to be held, it's custodial, whatever sentence, whatever, you're going to be held by the police in a cell. So you're going to be in prison for 2 years if you take it to court, if you take it to trial, versus maybe doing 9 months in jail by pleading guilty. You're just going to plead guilty, aren't you? Thank you very much for the super chat. I mean, like I say, it's not a perfect solution, but then I guess the situation that we're in at the moment isn't perfect. And juries aren't perfect either. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that, you know, you kind of, in a situation like this, you kind of damned if you do or damned if you don't. The important thing is to remember, though, Andrew, is that the woman at 42, she curled her hair yesterday. She made her hair go a bit curly. She must have used hair curlers to give a little bit of a wavy effect at the back there. I mean, I'm not saying she went full Annie, but you know, she put a bit of a weave in there. Not a weave, bit of a wave, in there. Anyway, Hannah Man King Tube says magistrates are terrible, very conservative. It's a recognised problem. Oh, okay. Waste of paper. I won't even send birthday stroke Xmas cards anymore. I send gifts instead. Any card to become cut for shopping lists. Sarah Puchin reform was a magistrate, was she? She's privately educated, of course. Sorry. Go to one of those pleb schools for the staties. Yeah. I've done this one, haven't I, about the triple lock? Get away. Don't want you. Okay, so the Metro's leading on the 13 suicides there, linked to the post office scandal. The Independent here. There's more to the Bayeux tapestry than meets the eye. There's King Harold there with his arrow in his eye. Poor bugger. He just won a battle, you know. He came down to battle for another battle, and you know, to Hastings, near Hastings, a place called Battle. Who would have thought that a place called Battle would have a battle in it? But yeah, he just won. Was it Stamford Bridge? Was it the Battle of Stamford Bridge? That was before the Battle of Hastings. Can't remember. It was a long time ago. It was like 900 years ago, man. Come on, give me a break. But he'd just seen off Harold Hardrada, hadn't he? Harold had rather a bad time at Stamford Bridge. Was it Stamford Bridge? Am I just making that up? Isn't that where someone plays football? Isn't that someone's football place? Football stadium, Stamford Bridge. Oh God, I'm gonna have to look it up now, aren't I? You're making me look it up. Okay, 1066 Stamford Bridge. Battle of Stamford Bridge took place on the 25th of September, 1066. He won that one. Which is good. Didn't win the Battle of Hastings. The Norwegian force led by King Harold Hardrada. He had rather a bad time. Not to be confused with there was another Battle of Bridge, wasn't there? The Battle of Bosworth, was it? Was it the Battle of Bosworth where Richard III carked it? Richard III, was it Bosworth? Bosworth? Battle of Bosworth Field. Yeah. That was when Richard III, the last king of the House of York, carked it. He got an arrow stuck up his bum, I think. Which is probably even worse than getting one stuck in your eye. Macron, we must shoulder burden of keeping Europe safe. President urges Starmer to share responsibility for regional peace and fixing Channel migrant crisis as he praises Dear Keir, have a beer. For post-Brexit reset in UK-France relations. Well, yeah, good. I want a reset. The situation we're in at the moment is pretty untenable. The Financial Times, finally here. We have a picture of the Honour Guard with Macron. He's like, where's my big stupid hat? Can we talk about bearskin hats? So, bearskin hats are made from the skin of a bear. And they need an entire bear to make one hat. I know that sounds fucking nuts, but yeah, they need an entire bear to make one bearskin hat. Which is a fun thing to wear, I guess, when you're, I don't know, marching in the sun. But there you go. We decided that we needed our people to look from behind like they've got a big, mad Zoolander haircut. Which is Zoolander on steroids. Bizarre. And cool. Like, who would notice? Who would notice if it was made by, you know, out of artificial means? It's the same thing that we do with our museums. Like, just make a replica. No one will know. No one will care. I don't give a fuck. Give me a replica. They tried to make one out of artificial fibers, but it didn't work as well or something. Like it didn't keep the soldiers cool enough. Put a little fucking fan in there. You got enough room. Put a little electric fan at the top, and it just blows cold air on your head while you're wearing it. That'd be great. Anyway, there's a lot crueler, a lot less cruel than killing an entire fucking bear for a hat. What's that, bear? You wild, majestic animal! I'm gonna kill you now. Why? Why'd you have to kill me? Because I need to make a hat. He says, wearing a kangaroo leather hat. Says I'm a bit of a hypocrite there, aren't I? But this isn't an entire kangaroo. You know, they use kangaroos for other stuff. And I wish that Australians would eat kangaroos more. Because you have a kangaroo burger, you wouldn't know it wasn't a beef burger. You really wouldn't, especially if you got it from McDonald's. Like, why McDonald's in Australia sell beef burgers is beyond me. Like, Australia's a shit place to try and grow cattle because they don't have enough water. So they have to take land that is like semi-arid desert land, and then they have to try and irrigate it so they can grow grass for their fucking big dairy farms. Like, no. Kangaroos, mate. I know you need big fences to keep the kangaroos in, but seriously, grow some kangaroos. We'll eat the kangas. At least they're not destroying the whole ecosystem because they're meant to be there. Anyway, Paula, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Following a Supreme Court decision that experts and the BMA described as scientifically illiterate, do you have any faith in judges to deliver justice? No. But we've got our backs against the wall in this situation, and until we can have a wholesale think about the justice system, the legal system, and how it all works, and to make it less of a old boys club for privately educated people, I don't see how. I don't see many other ways of getting out of this problem that we've got, where people are having to wait years to go to court. Rape victims are having to wait years before they get a day in court. And that's awful. That's absolutely awful. I don't know if it's a problem necessarily with the justice system to that extent. I think what I'll say is, I think it's a systemic problem, a classist problem with the United Kingdom, that the only people who get to become High Court judges went to private school. So if we shut down all the private schools in about 20, 30 years' time, then all the people in the top jobs wouldn't all go to private school. They would have gone to state schools, where they would have to mingle with people from other walks of life, not just the super rich from this country and other countries. Inspired by the great Marge Simpson. Yes. Check out the Freemasons sketching Monty Python, John Cleese's Manic Best. Since, that's from Steve. Also, since the 90s, I've been saying to people, don't give me cards. The trees cut for Christmas are a global event. Someone's birth, unlikely existed. The waste on every level. I don't necessarily have such a problem with paper, and I'm going to explain why. And again, your mileage may vary on this, right? Because obviously, to make paper, you've got to put chemicals in the paper, and anywhere downriver of a paper plant is not somewhere where you want to drink from the water of. That aside, right, trees are great carbon sinks. They're made of carbon, right? So chop down the trees, make the paper, make the pulp, make the paper, use the paper once, and then bury the paper. There's a bit of a carbon sink for you, a little shortcut to getting a carbon sink. Now I know that the paper mills use power, which will inevitably use fossil fuels. I know that the chemicals they use in to make the water to make the paper bright white aren't great for the environment in any stretch of the imagination. However, they could be made greener. But generally speaking, as long as that paper is taken from a sustainable forest, I have a lot less of a problem with it than I do, say, using tropical hardwoods to make your kitchen look nice. Which a lot of very, very rich people do. And if it means cutting down a beautiful 100, 200, 300, 1,000-year-old tree in the jungle to get you mahogany or whatever, then I'm not with it. I'm not with it. the tropical hardwood that we used on the island a few years ago. If those of you who remember, who were with us when me and matey Marcus went over to the island for a few weeks to get the place back into some semblance of order. That was coppiced, so it was a branch that was taken off a bigger tree, so the tree, continued to survive and live. And we made stuff out of that, and that was like small scale. It was a local tree, so if it had been a case of actually cutting down an entire tree to make a table, essentially, I would have been I wouldn't have been up for that, and it probably would have cost a lot more money. PMQs, are they on holiday again? I don't know, Leonard. I was supposed to check before I started, but I had to do the school run this morning, and because there's no school buses in Durham, it should be a bit easier next term. I hope that's going to get easier. But yeah, I didn't have a chance to do a thumbnail for the show, and I didn't also have a chance to check whether we are going to have Prime Minister's questions. But I'm going to check now by going to BBC Parliament channel and looking at the schedule. And yep, 12 o'clock, Prime Minister's questions. Coverage of questions to Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, on Wednesday, the 9th of July. So there you go. PMQs with Graham Hughes at 12 o'clock. So I'll be doing that in less than an hour's time. I've got to go. I've got to have some lunch before I do that, because otherwise I'll collapse. Have we done all the papers yet? Jeez, this has been a bumper show, hasn't it? You can tell my cat's not here. I just go off. There's no point in stopping the stream. I'm just gonna chatter on till people get sick and leave, and it's just like me and Veg Pie are the last two people standing, and I'm like, hey Veg Pie, how you doing? UK soaring debt load is daunting threat to public finances. OBR rules, fears for economy's resilience, pressure on Reeves to increase taxes, sterling falls and gilt yields rise. And then we've got BCG says Gaza plan work damaged its reputation as charity cut partnership. BCG's chief executive said its involvement with post-war plan for Gaza that envisaged relocating a quarter of the population was reputationally very damaging. Do you think? Anyway, I better get going. I loved it when Marcus and Graham and Marcus did up Ginger Island. Oh, that was so much fun, Veg Pie, and thank you very much for contributing to that as well. Your name and your pie are still on the wall of the house in Bocas in Panama. I'm going back in September. I hope. I'm a bit worried about it, actually. I wasn't thinking about this until what happened over the weekend with Texas. I mean, we're entering the hurricane season now, right? And I'm going to Toronto. I'll be in Toronto for a week or so. And then I'm flying from Toronto to Costa Rica as the cheapest flight I could get. It was fuck all. It's about 125 quid. It's amazing. I was like, oh my God, how could I not do it? It's like cheaper than going to London. So I'm flying there. And then I'll be taking the bus, obviously, because it's only 7 quid, to the border with Panama, and then bundling me way down to the island. But yeah, I'm a bit concerned about flying. I'm not usually concerned about flying, but although I'm not going to America where they've cut all of the people working in the air traffic control officers, it's the hurricanes. There's going to be more hurricanes, and with the National Weather Service and NOAA in America, the NOAA, being knocked out by Trump and his cuts and Musk and his cuts, I'm worried that there might be a hurricane that no one gets any information about. And as I'm literally going to be flying near the Caribbean, I need to know. My pilot needs to know. I'm going to be flying in September, which is like hurricane annihilation season. Is there a reason you check the BBC rather than the Commons business paper? Yes, Christopher Bowles, because I don't know what the URL is for the Commons business paper. And I need to do that quick, because otherwise I think you'll get bored. But I know that it's on the schedule for the BBC Parliament channel on their site. And also it means that I've now got the BBC Parliament channel on one of my windows, and I can just quickly go over there
for PMQs. Right, I'm going to go now. I'm going to make a thumbnail for this morning's show, and I'll make a thumbnail for yesterday's show because I forgot to do it yesterday. And I'm going to make a thumbnail for PMQs, which is going to be at 12 o'clock. And in the meantime, I'm going to eat some biscuits and have another cup of tea, I think. So if you'd like to join me at 12 o'clock in just, I don't know, about 45 minutes for PMQs, it'd be lovely to see you again. It'll be too long. It's been too long. And if you don't fancy that, because, you know, it's politicians, isn't it? Please join me and Rach at 6 o'clock tonight, where we'll be jumping down the rabbit hole together and be taking you with us, where we'll be talking anything but politics. Anything but politics. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Really appreciate them. And I'll just say, until next time, give us a like on the way out. Don't forget to do the like thing. Like. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.